Well, Mason, it's nice to meet you. I'm Monica.
I'm Monica. It's nice to meet you.
I saw some pictures of you with a bow and also a huge fish.
Yep.
So tell me about your fishing.
I always catch the biggest fish.
Okay.
And what else? What is your favorite fish to catch?
My favorite fish to catch is walleye because I like to eat them.
All right. How old are you, Mason?
6.
6 years old, and you're a fisherman. And you're a hunter also? Well, what kind of things do you like to hunt? Do you like to hunt turkeys?
I like to hunt prairie dogs, rabbits, and then I went on an elk hunt with my mom.
Oh, you did? Did you get anything?
Yeah, my mom killed a really big elk.
Oh, good for you. So you are quite the outdoorsman. Well, I have 2 boys, and they have been hunting and fishing since they were 6 years old. And they're old, and they are amazing hunters now because of that. So I really enjoyed seeing your pictures, particularly the one with the bow on there.
Thank you.
My husband is a veterinarian, and we have lots of animals. So really glad to meet a fellow sportsman. What do you want to be when you grow up, Mason?
A fisherman.
A fisherman. Well, have you ever gone, you said walleye is your favorite fish to catch? Walleye, awesome. So, have you been fishing a lot lately?
Yeah.
You have? So, Miss Georgia told me that you would talk to me about what is this COVID pandemic, and how has it changed your way of fishing, or do you get to go outside as much? Are you home from school? What's been going on the last couple months?
Or we don't get to go to really that much places anymore.
Yeah. Do you wear a mask when you go outside?
If we go in the store, me and my mom wear one.
You wear one. Do you wear a mask when you're fishing?
No.
No. The fish don't care, do they?
No.
No, I don't think so. Well, how come we're wearing, what's going on in the world? How come we're wearing masks and staying at home more?
What do you think?
What do you think?
It's hard. Probably if everyone doesn't wear a mask, they would all get sick.
Talk loud so she can hear you.
If no one wears a mask, they will all get sick.
Yeah. So there's some germs going around, aren't there? Where'd they come from?
I don't know.
I think, you know what? A lot of people don't know where those germs are coming from. But wow. So have you been able to play with your friends as much?
No.
No, why?
Because you're not really allowed to.
Yeah. Because of the germs?
What?
How come you're not allowed to play with your friends?
Because there's germs at their house.
What happens if you get those germs?
You might get sick.
You might get sick. Yeah. So I heard that you were quite a good wrestler. And so have the germs changed the way you've wrestled lately?
Yeah,
What happened? You haven't had any wrestling, huh?
we haven't had any wrestling, but we're going back to wrestling practice, but we can't do contact.
You can't do contact? Well, how do you wrestle without having contact?
We're going to mostly do conditioning.
Conditioning. Wow, that's a bummer.
Tell her how upset you were about that because you were up for a triple crown.
I'm up for tri-state and a triple crown. Now I don't think I might not get it now because of the virus.
Oh no. Are you angry about that?
Yeah.
Because you worked really hard. Huh?
Who are you angry at?
The virus.
You're angry at a virus?
Mm-hmm.
If you could, what would you do to that virus? If it was sitting next to you, what would you do?
I don't try to put it in a cup and lock it up and then throw it into the river.
Well, see, there's a lot of people that are trying to figure out what to do with the virus. Maybe they should listen to you, Mason, about locking it up, throwing it away. Well, I'm really sorry that you're not going to be able to wrestle the same way that you have. Has your coach told you anything else about when you might be able to go back to finish your season?
You're going Friday to practice.
I'm going Friday to practice.
Okay.
But we don't know about when a tournament can happen, huh?
That's a bummer.
Mm-hmm.
Are your other friends disappointed?
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think we should do next year during wrestling season?
This is tough.
Have any ideas?
Just hope the virus doesn't come around again and wrestle, hopefully.
Yeah. Do you know how we can prevent transmitting the virus or spreading it to your friend? Do you know some new things that they tell us we're supposed to be doing now?
Washing our hands.
Washing your hands. What about blowing your nose on somebody?
Could you blow your nose on somebody?
No.
No, that's probably rude, just even when we're not having a pandemic, isn't it? Yeah. How are you? Do you know how they want us to sneeze now?
Like
It kind of feels goofy, but I bet it works, doesn't it? So no sneezing on somebody.
Don't touch your face.
Yeah. What else?
Wash your hands Wash your hands after you go outside.
Yeah. Seems like a lot of work to stay healthy, doesn't it? Yeah. But it helps other people stay safe, doesn't it? So soon you'll be back to wrestling and you will ace. Is this your regional competition? Are you going to be state champion or regional champion?
Tell her state got canceled.
State got canceled.
Okay. What weight are you in? Do you have a weight group?
Yeah, 46s.
Okay. So do you watch what you eat? I
Yeah.
try to eat healthy
Mm-hmm.
so not as many candy bars.
And no sugar.
No.
No candy bars?
No candy bars.
No. What would you tell other kids that were missing out on activities they worked really hard on? What would you tell them?
Mm. You could do it next year if the virus doesn't come around.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Mm.
Good luck. Keep working hard.
Mm.
So there's next year. Do you play baseball or anything during the summer?
No.
You're a wrestler.
We do camping and fishing, and that's pretty much it.
And shooting
That's
the
it.
bow.
That sounds like a lot.
Yep.
Yep. Well, we're working on this video so that when you are an old man, when you are a grandpa, okay, think about this. When you are a grandpa and everybody forgets about all the sacrifices and how hard COVID has been, what do you want to tell people that you remember about how hard it was?
I don't know.
What would you tell someone if you were telling them about the virus? But
Everything was closed, and I didn't get to. Everything was closed, and I didn't get to finish wrestling season.
You missed the whole season.
Mm-hmm.
in school.
And school.
Well, what's harder? Is it harder to miss wrestling or is it harder to miss school?
Wrestling.
Wrestling.
Yeah.
Is it hard to do homework at home?
Yeah.
Yeah. Does mom help you with it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Does it? Do you get to see your friends much?
On a computer, I do.
Do the girls look prettier on the computer?
No.
No, they don't. Well,
Um,
how about, do the fish look bigger on the computer?
there's no fish on the computer.
Fish look bigger on the computer, but the girls don't look any better. No, well, that may sum up the whole COVID experience. Wow. Anything else you want to share with us so we don't ever forget how hard it is to be a kid going through all of this uncertainty? Is there any lessons that you've learned that you could share with us?
Really?
You haven't learned anything? Like, just keep your distance, wash your hands.
I just said all of that.
And there's nothing else? Okay.
No, just, well, I'm going to remember forever and always to know that the fish are bigger on the screen. That may be what's going to motivate us. Do you want to tell all the healthcare workers thank you for working so hard, keeping you safe?
It's like the nurses and doctors and stuff. Yeah, why don't you say thank you for keeping us safe and working hard?
Thank you for keeping us safe and working hard.
Well, thank you for being so understanding and just hanging in there with us. Really appreciate it. And I want to hear about your championship next year.
Say okay.
Okay.
Okay. Well, anything else, Mason or Ann? What do you think?
I hope that was helpful. It's hard from a 6-year-old.
Oh yeah, no, we just wanted to get some ideas of what,
Yeah,
what the kids are experiencing. And
I'd say he's definitely struggled with not being able to play with people or go to the parks. We kind of practice social distancing anyway. We're always out away from everybody. So for us, it hasn't changed a whole lot with our lifestyle, except for that there's places where you aren't allowed to go,
Right.
like, because we always are out fishing and camping and shooting our bows. And so we've continued to do that. It's just we've been restricted on where we can do those things. And so that part of it's changed. And I know it's hard, there's 2 boys that live next door that he loves to play with, and they talk through the gaps in the fence, and it's just, he doesn't understand sometimes why they can't play together or why we can't go to the park. And I don't know that he knows what a virus is, but he just knows that's why we can't do it. So,
right.
and then like for myself, I go back to work tomorrow, and I have had so much anxiety just because we have so many new procedures and more stuff we have to wear, and we're not supposed to talk to our patients. They have to exit out the back door. Like, I just am anxious because of all the changes that I have to implement at work, so.
How are you maintaining that with a vivacious young man working in healthcare, teaching him at home? How do you manage that?
It's chaos. Like, I have been out of work since March 12th. And so, I've enjoyed it. I stayed home with him for over a year after he was born, and I didn't want to go back to work. My friend needed someone to cover her for 3 months. So I got back in, worked the 3 months, and then I did just 1 day a week for like the next year and a half. And then after that, I went up to 2. And so I've only worked 2 days a week. So I'm home with him most of the time anyway. So it hasn't changed, except we have 2 more extra days together. But we have a routine with school. He logs in the morning, and we have about 2.5 to 3 hours of school 3 times a week. And then we sit and do the work that was assigned afterwards and just get it done. And then, but I had done stuff with him before. We've read since he was little. We've practiced reading. We've done numbers. So I don't feel like it's changed, except now he logs in and sees his teacher on the computer and does it that way, but then I still have to sit with him afterwards to go over what they talked about. And so it's hard too, because I have to sit there during the lesson while he's on there, because I have to know what they're learning so that we can talk about it later. So it's not like when you send him to school, he just learns it at school, and then he tells me when he gets home. Like, we're both sitting there listening to what the lesson is. So,
I mean, I can't fathom how challenging that would be for students, and particularly these little active kids.
Well, there's definitely frustration on his part, because sometimes he'll like break down because he doesn't understand what they're trying to teach. And so like he'll cry in the middle of the video, and I'm sitting there next to him. I'm like, buddy, it's okay. I'll explain it to you after. Just keep listening, because it's totally different trying to learn something new on the computer, and it's not as like interactive and hands-on. But his teacher has kind of gone above and beyond, because we do online school 3 days a week, and each morning before the lesson, his teacher drops off the paper or the project or whatever at the front door of our house every morning for that lesson. 3 times a week, he comes to our house and leaves it at the doorstep. So he has done watercolor painting, and his teachers tried to like keep it as normal. But then I think about 22 kids in the class. He goes to 22 houses every morning on those school days and drops off the paperwork. It's always in a Ziploc bag, and ready. And then when he gets on the computer, he explains, okay, you're going to cut this out and glue it. And he does a demo of what they're supposed to do. So we do all of that at home with what he drops off at the doorstep every day. And so at least I think, there's been twice Mason has been up and seen his teacher and been like, Mr. Green, like, hi, from a distance. And so he looks forward to checking the doorstep to see what they're going to do. And the teachers put books, they read, he'll call on a student and they read a book together. He'll take turns calling on them. So they're still trying to make it as similar to school as they can, but learning something new is hard when you are just listening, for him. He's a really hands-on kid. And so it's different, so we a lot of times have to talk about it afterwards, or I'll have to listen to the instructions so I can go over it with him after.
Do you guys know any idea what next year is going to look like?
I have, the principals emailed, they're hoping school starts in August, but then I've read stuff that they don't think that in-person learning is going to be back until January of 2021. So if I'm back at work and he's at his daycare and we're trying to get into first grade, it's just going to be a challenge because there's not going to be any kind of routine except for the online schooling. And even now, the online school ends in 2 more weeks. So I go back to work tomorrow. So I will have to do the recorded lesson with him Friday because he's going to miss the live interaction on Thursday because I'm going to be at work now. So it's just going to be us watching the recording and then trying to do the work later instead of being able to ask questions immediately when it's a live video feed. But at least I only have to do that for a couple more weeks, but it's going to be a challenge if school doesn't start and I'm still at work and we're trying to make up, the work for first grade via a recorded message in the evenings or whenever I'm off work. So I don't know how that's all gonna play out.
It'll be really interesting to see what the long-term impact this will have on students. And
I feel like he's missing out, kindergarten to first grade is such a big transition. And I know they usually do a kindergarten graduation with like cap and gown, and it's like a step. So he's missing that. But it's not just him, because the kids that are in 5th grade going to middle school, that's a transition that's usually celebrated. Middle school to high school, the seniors, so it's hard. It's easy to think that you're the only one, but when you look, everybody else is impacted the same way, or they're missing out on those experiences of graduation from high school and getting a graduation party, or, like the party from middle school to high school and things like that. It's not just us because it's impacted everyone. And I look at my job, we've been closed down and I'm back to work. And we have all these extra rules and things we have to do, but I have about 300 patients that now need to get in, but how? Because we can only work our days. You can't add in more because I already have people that were scheduled from 6 months ago that are on the schedule now, but I have about 300 patients in the last few months that now I need a place to put them to get them in. And so there's just challenges all around on all of that, And I've had anxiety, I haven't been back to work yet. We did training last week and my first day's tomorrow, but I was up about 1:30 in the morning, just like anxious and nervous and stressed about all the new things that I'm required to do and how the day is going to play out and the cleaning procedures. Like there's just so much, and it just has me anxious about going back. So.
How are you coping?
Oh, I've cried a lot. Lots of tears. I have tons of friends that are dental hygienists and we've talked to each other. I was on the phone with my friend that she works at the same office. She was back yesterday and she was telling me the whole process of the day and how hot it was wearing all the stuff and how her patients couldn't hear her through the face shield and kind of telling me things that she learned throughout the day that might help me going into tomorrow. And then even after I hung up with her, my friend lives right down the street and she was back at work at her office. So then I rode my bike down to her house and we sat outside for 2 hours talking about how hard it was and the new changes and everything and how she coped through her day and tips that she had to help me. But then still now I'm listening to all my friends and what helped them, and I have to figure out what's going to work for me tomorrow. And it's just stressful. Like, you know, I'm like an OCD person and I like routine. I like knowing who, what, where, when, why. And when you throw like so much uncertainty into it, I have a hard time. That's just my personality. Other people can fly by the seat of their pants and it's like, whatever, I'll do it. It's easy. But I don't operate. Like, I'm not the person you'd ever throw a surprise party for because I hate surprises. Like, I like to know what's happening. And so it's really hard for me. And I don't know how I'm coping. Like I said, I've cried. I've talked to people, but tomorrow I'm getting thrown to the wolves and I just have to figure it out tomorrow. So I don't know how it's going to go. I feel like I'm going to need a drink after work, like immediately. Like my husband probably needs to have one made for when I walk through the door. Mm-hmm. But I'm not, you know, I'm supposed to leave work and come home and shower even before, you know, giving Mason a hug or anything because of being exposed to people all day. We're supposed to change before we leave and come home and shower before anything else. So it's just going to be implementing all those new rules, you know.
So what do you think the new normal is?
I think this is going to become the new normal. You know, and my dentists that I work for have been in practice and they were around during like the AIDS and HIV outbreak and the craziness. So that's what they were saying. They've already survived a pandemic and seen how it plays out and the chaos and the changes. And they were already saying that this is the new normal. You know, we have to put our scrubs on at work and then we have to dedicate shoes that never leave the office. We have to wear shoe covers, a knee-length gown that's disposable between patients. I have to wear a cloth surgical cap with all my hair tucked in, no jewelry, a disposable cap over the cloth one that I change between patients, and we didn't get N95 masks, so we're required to wear a level 3 mask covered with a level 1 mask. And one of the things my friend said yesterday is her ears hurt from wearing 2 masks all day. And then, you know, so I have all that, plus then I wear my magnification loops and then a face shield over all of it. And all of that is changed in between patients. So we have to change the shoe covers. You know, we don't have to change our scrubs because we're wearing the long sleeve gown. And the point of the cloth is to keep our hair in, but we have the disposable cover that goes over that's changed in between patients. And we're bouncing from room to room because you're supposed to let the room settle. So I dismiss my patient and they're to walk out the back door. They can't even go back through the front door. They have to walk out the back of our office. And then I have to take off everything, you know, and then leave that room to let the aerosol settle. And then I go to the next room and set up for my patient. And then when that room's done, I pop back to the first room, clean it and turn it over. And it's had enough time that now I can see another patient in that room.
Who's making these best practices? Who's it coming out of?
So it's the CDC guidelines and the CDA, the Colorado Dental Association. And then we have the CDHA, the Colorado Dental Hygienist Association. And so all of them combined have made all these recommendations. I don't know that anything's mandatory, but what I've read and who knows how true, like if those recommendations are in place and we choose not to wear a face shield or not to do certain things and we get the virus, that our health insurance isn't going to help us because they've set the recommendations and we chose not to follow them. And so there's even been dentists that weren't closed down when they recommended. And I did some continuing education, while I'm stuck at home. And one of the things they said is dental insurance companies were denying claims being sent in that were non-emergent. So if you did still come in and get your teeth cleaned, which is a non-essential, non-emergent thing, and your office billed it to your insurance, they were denying because you're supposed to be in shutdown, and that was a non-emergent code that was sent in. And so there's tons of stuff out there. You don't know what to believe, what not to believe. I follow a group it's called Dental Hygienists Rant, where we talk to each other, online, and some of the stuff you hear, and dentists telling hygienists if they're not coming back, that they lost their job, or telling them to come back at a pay cut, or now my office is implementing a $10 extra fee to each patient to cover our PPE, because we have so much more. So every patient now has to come in and they pay extra $10, but they're getting less of our time. And, I'm not even allowed to use all of my tools because of the aerosol. So they're coming in, paying more and getting less care. And then we have to we're supposed to be in and out as quick as we can. We're supposed to tell our patients that we can't talk because of the aerosol and because we can't hear, and we just have to get them in and get them out, and then we're dismissing them out the back door. Like, to me, that's not good care. That's not what we've been doing. And they're paying more for it. They're coming in and paying more and getting less at the end of it. And so I'm struggling, I think, with that, because I've worked at my same office for over 5 years. My patients know me, they love me, we have a routine, and then all of a sudden I can't communicate. I have to get them in and get them out. It's an assembly line, and we look like aliens with all this extra stuff. It's just a whole lot of change that I'm stressed out about.
What do you think the long haul will be? We're challenged with encouraging people to have good oral health. What is this going to do to that?
Well, I've already been stressing because I have patients I see every 3 months because we have to do 3 months to maintain them. And now I look, they've missed their 3 month and we're almost at 6 months, and I still don't know when I can get them in. And we've worked so hard to get them stable, and then we're going to be losing all this ground that we've worked so hard to get, and stress plays a role on the way your body responds to bacteria. And so my patient that normally came in every 3 months, now maybe they lost their job, or so they have all this extra stress, and I can't see them and do my normal care. I do feel like they're going to be losing ground. My friend down the road yesterday, she said she saw a patient that did lose ground. She was like, it was crazy, a huge change in just the 3 months because of stress and everything. And she's like, and I couldn't use all my tools to do the best job for her when she was in my chair, because we're not allowed to do anything that creates aerosol. And she's like, I had to tell her she's lost ground, but that maybe in 3 more months, I'll be able to do more for you because I can't right now. And so it's hard. I feel like we're going to see a lot of lost ground. It's going to be, honestly, a bloody mess for us because we're past our due dates on getting people in, and who knows what they've been doing for their home care, because some people maybe took this time to really focus on their brushing and their flossing and stuff, and other people, who knows if they got out of bed all day and even brushed once, like when you're just stuck in your pajamas, and you have no motivation to do anything. So I think we're going to see a huge range of things in coming back,
Who would have thought?
Never. Yeah. And I'm nervous, I'm going to be, dental hygienists are the number one most at risk of all the professions. If you look, hygienists are the most at risk. And, my grandpa, he's 80 years old. He has health issues, and I've spent a ton of time with him over there. He has a pond Mason fishes at all day, and we're just over there. But I'm almost afraid to be around him after I start seeing patients, because when I'm in someone's face, and even with the precautions and stuff, seeing 8 to 10 patients a day, I don't know, if I've been exposed, and I'm almost afraid to be around my grandpa after I go back to work, because he is the one that's most at risk. Like, I'm not afraid of me recovering from the virus. We're already get exposed to so much anyway, just in our profession, and even just what my son brings home from school and daycare and stuff. But I worry about my grandpa, who's 80 and has a pacemaker and has heart issues and stuff, like being around him, because he would be the one that would struggle getting over the virus. I don't, I don't feel like I would have to worry. Like, I'd probably be sick. There's even parts of me that thinks Mason had it in February. He was so sick, a fever for 3 straight days. I took him to the doctor. They just assumed it was the flu, told us to come home. He was horribly sick, didn't get out of bed, fever, you name it, and then a cough that lasted for 5 weeks after. And so part of me thinks that it's already been here and we've had it. He was so sick. I feel like he had it because they didn't test him for the flu. They just assumed that that's what it was. And, I had patients that were canceling because they're like, I want to come in and I had a fever, but my cough, like, I can't lay back without coughing. And so I had tons of cancellations, like December, January, February, because people had this horrible cough. So who's to say it already hasn't been through the valley and in my office and everything in this, we don't know.
Is any of this making you question your career choice?
Oh, I already told my husband I don't want to go back. And he's like, you have to, you have a car payment. And because I already know we can make it on just his income, because I stayed home with Mason after he was born for 1.5 years. And so I already know. And even if I were to stay home, that's less daycare, because I'm paying like $350 a month. And I have had to pay. He hasn't been there since March 12th, but to hold his spot, I have still had to pay, and he hasn't been in there for 6 weeks. And so, if I didn't go back, yes, we'd have less money, but I also wouldn't be paying daycare either. So that would be $350 less a month, because I've gotten unemployment, but it hasn't been much. I'm only 2 days a week at my office, so it's like peanuts. But almost my entire unemployment check has gone to daycare, where he hasn't been in 6 weeks, because I still had to pay to hold his spot there. Otherwise, another family that needs it, that's been on the wait list, they get his spot. So I've been still paying, even though he hasn't been in the office. So I don't, it's frustrating, but I get from their standpoint, if I don't pay for his spot, then he gets booted out of there and someone else gets the spot. And then when I do go back to work, I have nowhere to take him, because, I can't ask my 80-year-old grandpa to watch him 2 days a week from 6:30 in the morning to 5:30 in the evening. Especially my grandpa's a farmer. He's right in the middle of fertilizing and irrigating and doing all that. He doesn't have time to sit there and watch him fish at the pond all day, He was there for about 4.5 hours yesterday just so that I could go get a haircut and go to the grocery store and everything, and he had a blast. Mason would much rather be there than at daycare, but that's just, it's, my grandpa can't sit and watch him all day while I'm at work. So.
Well, your hair looks good. Your hair looks really good.
Thank you. Yeah.
I was actually thinking, wow, her hair is really maintained. So I'm glad to know that.
Yep, just got it done yesterday. So my friend does my hair. She cut off about 1.5 inches because it was like way grown out, and put my highlights back in and everything. And it was so good because she's one of my best friends anyway, and I haven't seen her in 6 weeks. And so, it's like we both were about to cry, and she was supposed to be wearing a mask, but I told her, I'm fine if you don't want to. And so we didn't wear a mask in there. We're the only ones in the salon. We both talked about our meltdowns, because she's like, I've cried so much and this and this. And I told her I have too. And so we just talked and talked about how hard it's been with the kids because she has a little girl that's about 10 months younger than Mason and is an only child. So, you know, there's not siblings to play with. It's been so hard for Mason. Like, everyone else has their brother and sister and stuff at home. It's just him. And that's where he's used to playing with the neighbor kids or meeting with my friend and doing a play date and doing all his things. And now it's like, he's constantly like, Mom, will you play with me? Mom, what can we do? And, you know, it's hard because I don't get anything done because we go on bike rides and we go on walks, or, you know, as soon as we're done today, we're going to eat lunch and then go fishing. You know, we just have to get out. And our personality in general is we're never home. We're always gone at wrestling tournaments or ice fishing or camping. You know, we're going to Lake Powell next weekend because they finally are opening Lake Powell back up. Like, we just can't wait to get out and do things. And so we've still been, you know, we have local lakes here that we've been allowed to fish, but we've probably fished them 50 times in the last few weeks, and we're just like bored of going the same place, you know, and so we're chomping at the bit to go do something else. So I don't know, it's just all a challenge.
It's a whole different, did you ever think going to get your hair cut, of which, by the way, I haven't, but did you ever think that would feel so good?
That's what I told my friend. I'm like, you know, I was so excited to see you and talk, but just even getting my hair color and cut like made me feel better. And I told her, I don't know why I was in such a hurry to come see you, because I have to wear a surgical cap at work tomorrow and no one's going to see it anyway, you know, but it still just made me feel better to get my hair cut and to see my friend and talk for 2 hours and vent and cry and hug her. And, you know, even though I probably shouldn't have done all those things based on the rules, but it's not, she's my friend, not just the lady who cuts my hair. You know, if it was somebody else, I probably wouldn't have done all that. But because it was one of my best friends that I haven't seen in 6 weeks, like, we just totally vented and, you know, talked for 2 hours, and it was so good to just like see her. So
out of all the challenges and the difficulties up to this point, and there'll be more moving forward, what's the most interesting thing you've learned about yourself?
I would probably say just maybe the level of fear, because I won't say that I'm one that thinks like, oh my gosh, you know, like the virus, but I'm also not at the point where I think we should just continue life as normal. And that's where my husband and I have argued. He thinks it's all a joke. He will not wear a mask. He said if a business says you must wear a mask, he's like, I just won't shop there. Versus me, I'll still go into the grocery store and I do wear a mask in the store, and I make Mason. And when we get back to the car, I have hand sanitizer and we clean our hands and then we take off our mask in the car. But my husband thinks that's absolutely ridiculous, thinks that I'm an idiot because I wear a mask at the store, and he thinks it's all a big joke. He doesn't believe in it. And so we just have a little bit different opinion. But part of me thinks because I do work in healthcare and I know how this can, you know, spread and everything, I think that's why, at least, you know, to go into the grocery store, sure, how hard is it? Like, just put on a mask. It's not that hard. But then you hear people, you know, there was some teenagers in the grocery store on Monday when we went, and they're like laughing. They're not wearing a mask, and they're like, oh, I hope I don't get the virus. And it's just a joke to them, you know, and everybody else is there wearing one. And even to see, you know, an elderly lady in the aisle, you know, trying to get her groceries with her mask on, and then you have the teenagers that are laughing and think it's a joke. You know, when this first happened and shelves were wiped out and I was at the store, there was, you know, half the stuff on my list I couldn't get. And I almost cried because there was an elderly lady that had her list out and she's crying in the aisle saying they don't have anything she needs. And it made me sad because that's the person that's at risk and they can't get their groceries. And then you have the young people that think that it's all just a joke. Like, they just, you know, so, and she is the one at risk. It's the elderly person that, you know, they shouldn't even be out at the store, but they have to get food, and they're trying to do what they can, but they can't even get what they need. And it broke my heart to see that lady just in the aisle looking at her list, and she was just crying, saying she couldn't get what she needed. And so, for me, I've been trying to talk to my grandpa and his wife, and I'm like, hey, I'm going grocery shopping. Can I get you anything just to keep them from going? Like, I'm already going. I'll bring it to you. And I have a lady, she's a widow right across the street. I've called her tons of times saying, hey, Gail, I'm going to the store. Do you need anything? And sometimes she's like, well, can you get me some eggs? And I love this, great value sweet tea that's in a gallon jug. And I'm like, I'm happy to. If it keeps you from having to go to the store for those 2 things, I'll grab it, but not everybody has that. So I don't know. It's been hard.
Well, you have such a wonderful attitude, and I'm super excited you're going to Lake Powell next week.
I can't wait.
That'll change the whole world. I'm telling you, it will. So,
yeah.
and hang in there. It's tough enough being a young working mom and being away from your kids when things are just going really well. I mean, that grabs at your heart. And having to do that with so much uncertainty, my prayers just go out to you to keep it together, girlfriend.
I took Mason, we had a training day to practice all our new stuff last Wednesday for 6 hours. I had to be at work. And so he did go to his daycare, and we had separation anxiety because he's been home with me this whole time, and we've been having fun and fishing and doing whatever. And I had to drop him off as quick as I could because he was about to cry and I was about to cry, and I didn't want to take him. I didn't want to go to work. It was really hard to drop him and leave him. And then when I picked him up, he was like, Mom, I know I'm going to get sick. There's so many kids in there, and they were touching their face and everything. Cause I've been like, don't touch your face. Keep your fingers out of your mouth, and he's like, I already know I'm going to get sick. He's like coming back here because there's so many germs at daycare. And he's like, I didn't have any friends there. And it's just, I don't know, it's just hard. So I think I have anxiety about taking him, and I have to get him up so early. He's been sleeping in, and I have to wake him up at 6 tomorrow, and I have to drop him off at 6:30 so that I can go to work. And knowing he's going to be there all day with 30 kids from different households, and I don't know how their family's been taking it. Maybe their older sister's the one that was at the store laughing that we're all wearing a mask. I don't know. So I think we just take our vitamins and keep trying to do the best we can. And if we get it, we get it. I already think Mason had it. So, I don't know.
Well, just some free advice from an old lady. It's okay to cry. I cried every day at first day of school for 2 boys for their entire time, from kindergarten until they were seniors. And you know what? They've grown into these amazing young men. Mm-hmm. And they laugh at me now, but I still do it. So it's just all part about being a mom. And so, so just own it. And mine so far have turned out pretty good. No major, major things. Yeah. So yeah, you can never show them that you love them too much.
I'm not mom, because first day of kindergarten, I had to work that day. So I'd blocked out because I wanted to take him to school his first day. I bawled all day, I bawled when he went in the door and everything. And then I still had to go to work, and my patients all knew, because when I scheduled them, I'm like, I might be a mess that day. That's my son's first day of kindergarten. And I would just get myself together, and my next patient would be like, how did it go? And I would just start bawling. I bet I cried 15 times, because I finally pulled myself together to walk into work, and Dr. Carol's like, are you all right? And I just bawled. And then I'd get myself together, and my first patient was like, how did it go? And I'd cry again. It was horrible. I didn't wear makeup that day, and I was crying on and off all day. And he had a good day. It was still hard because he was about to cry when he went in the door, and he kept saying, come with me, Mom. And the teachers are like, we don't let the parents, come on. And so he's like, Mom, reaching for me, and I'm trying not to cry. He's about to cry. It was horrible. And so
it's all going to be good, and you'll go back to work, and that's going to be hard, but you'll get through it.
Yep.
and he'll learn from it and we'll all learn from it, and we'll just share the story of resilience. So thank you
Oh, yeah.
so much.
Yes, thank you.